Hello and welcome to Weirdos in the Wild with our co-host, AJ Oxley, paranormal investigator with Beyond This Life Paranormal and multi-generational paranormal enthusiast, and Lynn Tincher, Beyond This Life paranormal investigator, Reiki master, published author, and near-death experiencer. Travel with them, a couple of everyday weirdos on a wild ride to all things paranormal and metaphysical.
Coming up on Weirdos in the Wild, a little ghost hunting 101 with questions from special guest Cooper Oxley. Stay tuned.
Hydra Publications is your one-stop for the best in genre fiction. Secrets and Blood is the debut horror novel from Dewey Hensley. Evangeline Grace, the sheriff in a small town, eastern Kentucky coal mining county, longs to start a new life in another place. However, present and past evils conspire to jeopardize her plans and end the lives of those she loves, including her brother Sheldon, whom she promised to protect. Drugs, feuds, and her beliefs stand in the way of identifying the notorious Highlander in time to live her dream. However, menace reaches from Madison County's past.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit. From the Ground Up Books and Resources is more than just a place to buy books. We are a center that nourishes the passions of writers, artists, and book lovers alike. Our programs help educate writers and artists. Our holistic items and Reiki services offer a unique opportunity to build individuals from the ground up. Sign up for one of our memberships today and support us and bring our vision to life. 5% of all memberships will go towards prize money for contests and scholarships for our programs. Book donations are always welcome. Visit FromTheGroundUpBooks.com for more information.
Attention all readers and writers. Louisville Literary Arts is back for the 11th Writers Block Festival on Saturday, September 30th, 2023 at the Logan Street Market in Louisville, Kentucky. The all-day event begins at 9:30 a.m. and will feature workshops, author readings, a resource fair, and keynote speaker, author and professor Emily Bingham from Louisville. Registration is $25 for general admission. Go to Eventbrite and enter the Writer's Block or the website www.louisvilleliteraryarts.org. For more information, you can also email info@louisvilleliteraryarts.org. Come find your right life at the Writer's Block Festival.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our latest episode of Weirdos in the Wild. My name's AJ.
And I'm Lynn.
And I'm Cooper.
Yes, we have a special guest with us tonight, Cooper. Cooper is my son, Cooper Oxley. And tonight we're going to talk about a subject that I've been getting a lot of questions about, and Lynn's been getting some questions about. And now you know why Cooper's going to be here, because he asks me these type of questions too. Kind of a ghost hunting 101. What do we do? How did we get into it? If you want to get into it, what should you do? We're going to kind of talk about that. We're going to talk, Cooper's going to have some questions he's going to throw at us. We're also going to introduce you to some of the equipment that we use. And we are at a new location that is going to be a location that hopefully will become a long-term investigation site for us if it turns out that there is something going on here. But Lynn, why don't you tell us about this location?
Sure. This is actually one full day that I have leased this space. This will be my new bookstore that I'm opening in LaGrange. As you know and heard from us on our show before, that LaGrange, Kentucky is very, very haunted. My new bookstore is now going in on Main Street, actually just a couple of doors down from my old bookstore that I had, and really close to the LaGrange Train Museum that is also very haunted, that we're hopefully going to get to investigate soon. So the building that we were in was built in the 1800s. It's been empty for just a little while. There used to be a hair salon here, and there's one other renter that I'm sharing some space with in the back. So right now we're getting it ready. We've got stuff ripped out, but we are here because we've heard it's haunted. It's actually on the Spirits of LaGrange ghost tour. So I'm looking forward to finding out, which I don't know anything about this place or any stories associated with it. So I'm looking forward to finding out from the Spirits of LaGrange ghost tour exactly what they say happened here. So like AJ said, we have Cooper with us. This is his first ever experience like this, and he's probably very nervous, especially when we turn the lights out on him. But in case you're wondering, it's still daylight outside, so it's not real dark in here.
No. Lynn did mention something, and we are going to talk about, we'll just jump right into it, what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about, how we got into this, what we do. One thing I want to say real quick, because it was something that Lynn jogged my memory here, because we said we don't know a whole lot about this building. You'll find out that some investigators, when they go to a new location, they want to know everything there is about a location. And some investigators, like Lynn and I, like to know as little as possible about the place.
Yep. We like to try to experience things ourselves and make our own judgment calls. Because we don't want if we hear that there's somebody that's always in this back room that does this, this, and this, we don't want that stuck in our minds so that our imagination plays tricks on us. We want to, if somebody really is here doing this, 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 and this, we want to see it for ourselves.
Right.
And it's pretty amazing when that happens and you tell someone and they're like, oh yeah, here's the story, and it goes right along with it, which has happened to us quite a few times.
It has. So I guess, first of all, what gets you into this? So I think, have we told the stories, Lynn, of what got us into this?
I think we have. For this episode, it wouldn't hurt to recap it a little bit.
So for me, I saw a full body apparition several times when I was young, and it was in a house that my grandparents lived in. Looking back at it, I know now that it was a residual haunting, and there was no intelligence to it, but there was a full body apparition. And then in another house, I literally ran into somebody. Like if you were to turn around and somebody was there and you didn't know them, that's what happened. I literally ran into somebody. Bump, exactly. Bumped right into them. So that's what got me into trying to figure out what the hell all this is.
And for me, I have a rare heart condition. I know you all have heard me talk about before, but I passed away in my sleep when I was 12 in my bed in my room, and I'd left my body and floated up through the ceiling and was floating over the house and all this crazy stuff. I won't get into all that because I'm sure you all have heard it before. But anyway, from that point on, I started seeing things. The house that I lived in was over 200 years old. It was a log cabin that my dad had taken down from one location and reconstructed it somewhere else. So there was a lot of history with the house, I'm sure. It was an old log cabin. That's how far back this thing went. So I used to see people in the house. I would sit on the couch and look at the wall sconces, and I could see people behind me in the mirrors on the wall sconces. That kind of went through my whole life of seeing these things, and I've actually had some experiences where I've talked to some spirits and was able to understand them, which really freaked me out, and I had to call one of my friends who knew what the hell was going on, and she kind of taught me through it. But that's only really happened one big major time. And then when I took AJ ghost hunting with my brother, I wasn't really even into it then, but when we saw that shadow person that stepped out in front of us and stared us down, that we're like, okay, we're hooked now. We've got to be a part of this and and try to figure out what's going on and what this stuff is.
Yeah. So, kind of getting right into it, just like Lynn said, how did me and her, get into doing this ghost hunting? And it was because of her brother, John. And we've spoken about John. Unfortunately, we lost John last December very suddenly. But John brought us this group together for a certain reason. And the people that John chose were people that just wanted to learn about ghost hunting.
Right.
And John was an expert. There's no other way to say it. John was an expert.
He'd done it for years, yeah.
Was an expert in the field of ghost hunting. He has worked with all the people that, people we've had on this podcast, people that we look at and say that are experts. So we learned. So that's the first thing I would say to somebody. If you want to do it, find somebody else that's into it. You don't have to have a group. If you know a group, you can ask to go on a hunt with that group. Mm-hmm. There are groups that we know that we've done this before too, where we've, where they have public hunts, and you are able to go, and you can go with a group or go with some people that are experienced and learn that way. The first time Lynn and I went, I think we went with a flashlight and just deer in our headlights look on our face.
I'd been with my brother a couple of other times, so I had some inkling of what was going, what we needed to do and what was going on. But being that experienced, nope. I think Cooper's got some questions for us.
For someone like me who has never been, who wants to get into this, how do they find a group or a place to go to get into ghost hunting?
Good question. Google is like your number one spot, but there's always, especially even on Facebook, there's a lot of paranormal groups, and you can find groups like Oldham County Paranormal Research, which is actually here. They're from LaGrange that we ghost hunt with occasionally. You hear us talk about Shannon and Susan. You can find them on Facebook pages, or you can just talk, like AJ and I were just happened to talk and share a couple of ghost stories. And I'm like, hey, by the way, my brother's an investigator. And he's like, holy crap, I want to go. So, I mean, just, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Or you can look up haunted places, and some places will have a home team that you can talk to about going in and investigating with them.
Google it. If you look up, there's one that's all about Kentucky, and it will tell you all these different ghost hunting groups, like the Louisville Ghost Hunters, which is the one that Keith started, right? Mm-hmm. And you can just pull those up, and you'll find them just on Google. I mean, and Lynn's right. Facebook, if you look up things in Facebook, you'll be amazed how many will pop up. It's crazy. And I think that a lot of people think that you've got to have some sort of experience in this, or know what you're doing or whatever. Like I said, Lynn and I went into this like a deer in headlights. At least I felt like I did. Maybe I shouldn't say that about Lynn, but I
was definitely like a deer in the headlights when that happened. No doubt.
But we were also like sponges, and we were just trying to absorb everything we could and learn what we could from John and, our other members that had done this before, Haley and Joe and our other friends, Keith Age, and, all these folks that we've been able to be around. And you pick things up every time, from somebody new. So don't think you have to know what you're going into it. And don't think you have to have all this equipment that you see these people on TV have either.
No, your eyes and ears and your, smell and taste and feel, all your senses, that's all the ghost hunting equipment you really need.
Yeah.
Everything else just kind of validates what you're feeling.
Yeah. And when Lynn and I first started, we talked about this a lot, that the first several times that we just went, I know I felt this way, I was getting my feet wet. I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to absorb what I could do. And then eventually I felt comfortable. And I even said this to Lynn. I was like, okay, I'm to the point where I just don't want to wander around in the dark anymore. I'm here. I want to now get evidence. I want to see what we can prove.
Yeah.
How do you go into a hunt with an open mind, not thinking everything you see or everything you feel or hear is it just a ghost? Like learning how to know what's a ghost and not a ghost.
It's a great question, Coop.
Yeah.
So, it's a great question because if you watch TV, if you watch some of the people on TV, everything's a ghost.
Right. And
Now-
honestly, when you start out, you think everything's a ghost.
But if you really watch people and see people that know what they're doing, they will experience things. So you'll hear something, maybe something you hear, like you're in an old house like this, so you hear something that's creaking. Well, you may walk across the floor in one room and it causes the floor to creak in the next room.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through and you have to try to recreate or, what we call debunk it. So you try to make whatever you happen again. You come up with what could it have been? You saw a strange light. Oh, okay, well maybe there was a car that drove by. Maybe you heard something. Well, maybe you're very close to another building.
Or the air conditioner kicked on.
Right.
Or,
it happened to be where we are next door, there's a restaurant. And there's people sitting outside right now, which we could probably hear voices. And so we'd be like, oh, okay, that's probably what that is. We didn't hear a ghost talking. We heard the people next door having a few drinks.
And there's always something, and we always try to figure it out. It's like when we were at the Hannah house, this was literally right before my brother passed away. He and I kept smelling like pipe smoke or cigar smoke, which is one of the main things you smell, depending on who the ghost is, I guess. Like if my grandfather showed up, he would smell like pipe smoke, that kind of thing. So we kept smelling it just every so often, and then all of a sudden it just dawned on me. I'm like, we smell that every time the air conditioner kicks on. So then we started paying attention, and sure enough, every time the air conditioner kicked on, we would smell the pipe smoke. So then we're like, okay, that's not paranormal. There's nothing to that. So it comes, like you said, it kind of comes with experience. When you first start out, everything's a ghost. And then when you start figuring out what is and what isn't, and you truly start to experience what is, then you just kind of learn. So it takes a while. It's not.
But you know what?
An
When
easy,
you have
quick
a
thing.
group of people too, everybody brings a certain knowledge to it as well. So if you have somebody that knows about, like Lynn said, if you have somebody who knows about heating and air conditioning, they'll hear a sound and they'll be like, it's a ductwork.
Mm-hmm.
You got somebody who knows about carpentry or engineering, they'll be like, oh, it's just the house creaking as it cools down at evening,
Yeah.
We are very lucky. We have two people in our group that are what I would say expert debunkers.
Yeah.
And one of them is truly a scientist.
Yeah. She's
And
a physicist. Yeah.
And we lean on her when we show her stuff. And she has figured out a lot of things. She's debunked. We were at one, I won't say where we were. We were at one location and we saw a video from a previous investigation that was done by another group there. Her and I debunked it.
Yeah.
So you just can't, like Lynn said, you just can't jump in and go, oh, it's a ghost. But we have went through things that when it came to the end of the day, it was a ghost.
Yeah. There was no explanation for it other than it was paranormal.
So keeping with the open mind question, when you go as a group or even by yourself, well, you probably don't go by yourself much, but when you go and you see, as you said, seeing other people do this kind of stuff, how do you go in there with an open mind of, hey, well, we don't want to beat them, we want to find the stuff to maybe even show more of what this house is haunted?
Well, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Two things there. Number one, I want to say one thing. If you're new to this, and even if you're old to this, I would not recommend going into a place by yourself. Number one, you don't know what you're getting into. Number two, if you do get into something that's bad, you don't want to be by yourself. And number three, we've been some buildings that are very, very, very old and very dilapidated. And I would not want to go into those buildings by myself in case something was to happen and you get hurt.
Yeah. And as far as being open-minded, just go into it thinking, that there are some things you can't explain, and you might experience something that you can't explain. So don't jade it by thinking, oh, it's just a bunch of crap. Just, keep the thought in the back of your head, well, maybe there's something to it. There's a whole lot of people doing this, so maybe there's something to it. Or don't be so open-minded that, the ceiling fan that's blowing on you right now moves your hair, that you're thinking, oh my gosh, somebody touched me, that kind of thing. So don't, it's a fine balance to know whether or not you're like being too, crazy about it, or, to totally shut off about it. Because a lot of people are totally shut off, and they wouldn't experience anything if it came up and slapped them in the face. So. And
you also brought up a good thing. And I think that's a choice that a group has to make, is that, yes, I think there are people that are in this field that think that they want to outdo the other people. That's not us.
No.
And you will all find this out soon, because this is a tease. We are sitting on something that is, when we get to this episode, is freaking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, my friends, is what we call a tease for
That's
the next
right.
episode.
That's right. It is pretty incredible. We can't explain it. Our physicists can't explain it. We can't wait to share it.
And we've been sitting on it for quite a while.
Yep.
So we are not, there are those groups that there is, and I think that a lot of people, especially your age, Cooper, are very open to this idea because of the shows that are on TV. Mm-hmm. But some of the shows on TV, I think, they're just there to, and I get it, they're there for ratings, so they're trying to outdo the other show on TV. Or they get canceled. But
and unfortunately, a lot of stuff gets staged or fixed or embellished, or.
And we won't go into which ones are good or bad.
We'll be nice.
There are some people on there that are very good on television as well.
Right.
So, like, little backstory here. When I first figured out my dad was going to Gus, I was actually in the hospital with appendicitis, and he was going to go to Waverly Hills, which for a lot of y'all, I don't know if y'all know, Waverly Hills is probably one of the most haunted places in the United States.
Yep.
And to this day, I still tell him I saved his life, even though I know it's a joke. But there's a very old story of the ball move, the kid's ball move in there.
Uh-huh.
How do you, make sure that actually, talking about debunking,
mm-hmm.
knowing that's actually true, or someone just kicks the ball and then someone on TV or a video is like, oh, that ball moved?
You try to recreate it. You try to set up the exact same circumstances. Video is great, although video can be fudged anymore, and nobody trusts anything on video anymore anyway. But for you, if you've videoed it and you can see it, then that's good validation for you. But it's another thing is, and we'll talk about this in a minute when we start talking about equipment, is make sure you test the environment so that okay, this ball is sitting here, but there's an open window over there that could have a cross breeze, or something. So you really try to find
the floor uneven.
Right. There's just so many things that could cause that ball to move, and
if I walk across the
that.
floor, did I make the ball move because the floor creaks or moves?
Because for beginners like me, I don't think about that stuff. It'd be kind of like recreating the video, like, oh look, the kid's red ball moved, but that window was open behind us. So I wanted to know how, for beginners, you can go in there trying not to save stuff, but think about your surroundings and recreate and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since Cooper brought it up, we're going to Waverly in 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks?
Less than 2 weeks.
Looks
Now
I'm
it's like
getting
10 days.
appendicitis again.
Unless Cooper
Your
gets
other appendix is going to burst.
So, another tease coming up for you is, yes, we're going to one of the most haunted locations in the United States here in a couple weeks. And you know what? We'll take a ball with us and we'll try that.
Yeah. Well, it's my third trip.
It'll be my second.
Yeah.
I've been there before, but the trip Cooper was talking about was when we were supposed to go with John and the whole group.
And do it private.
Yes.
Not a tour, but the private investigation. Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's more to come. So, so some of the equipment that we do use with us when we go. And the first time you go, I mean, really, take a flashlight with you in your iPhone or your Android phone, whatever that has a flashlight on it or that you can record with. You can take pictures, you can do video, you can do audio recordings on the phone. So really, your phone is a really good tool to have with you.
Right. And I'm not sure I trust the apps on the phone, though, like the Spirit Box apps. And even though I've had some pretty amazing experiences with the Spirit Box, but the Spirit Box is made different than your phone.
Yeah.
So I'm not real sure about the phone apps, guys.
And I've seen those what they call them, SLSs, where it shows the
stick figure.
I'm not real sure about that either at times, but your phone is a very good tool.
Will the app voice recording even pick up if spirits or ghosts, whatever people will call them, if they move or talk?
Yes, absolutely. All the EVPs that I have, I've gotten on my phone.
Yeah. We've had better luck with a phone than some of the handheld recorders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for sure.
An EVP is an electronic voice phenomenon. So that is, we could be talking and somebody in the room with us talking that's in spirit or ghost or whatever, and we don't hear it, but the phone will. And how that happens, I don't know. But sometimes we hear it too. So it's,
we caught a great one. Let and I caught a great one on her phone.
Yeah. So,
that was in Winchester.
So you don't need a bunch of expensive equipment to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Hydra Publications is your one stop for the best in genre fiction. Secrets and Blood is the debut horror novel from Dewey Hensley. Evangeline Grace, the sheriff in a small town, eastern Kentucky coal mining county, longs to start a new life in another place. However, present and past evils conspire to jeopardize her plans and end the lives of those she loves, including her brother Sheldon, whom she promised to protect. Drugs, feuds, and her beliefs stand in the way of identifying the notorious Highlander in time to live her dream. However, menace reaches from Madison County's past.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit. From the Ground Up Books and Resources is more than just a place to buy books. We are a center that nourishes the passions of writers, artists, and book lovers alike. Our programs help educate writers and artists. Our holistic items and Reiki services offer a unique opportunity to build individuals from the ground up. Sign up for one of our memberships today and support us and bring our vision to life. 5% of all memberships will go towards prize money for contests and scholarships for our programs. Book donations are always welcome. Visit FromTheGroundUpBooks.com for more information.
Attention all readers and writers. Louisville Literary Arts is back for the 11th Writers Block Festival on Saturday, September 30th, 2023 at the Logan Street Market in Louisville, Kentucky. The all-day event begins at 9:30 a.m. and will feature workshops, author readings, a resource fair, and keynote speaker, author and professor Emily Bingham from Louisville. Registration is $25 for general admission. Go to Eventbrite and enter the writer's block or the website www.louisvilleliteraryarts.org. For more information, you can also email info@louisvilleliteraryarts.org. Come find your right life at the Writers Block Festival.
Welcome back to Weirdos in the Wild. Before we return to our program, AJ and I would like to take a moment to remember my brother John Tincher, co-founder of Beyond This Life Paranormal, and Alan Oxley, AJ's father, Both passed away just before we recorded our first episode. Each and every episode going forward from this one on will be in remembrance of them. Thank you.
So why don't you tell them some of the equipment that we do use, Lynn, that is
All right.
more ghost hunty kind of things. And some of it is not expensive either, but some of it can
It can get that way. I didn't bring a whole lot with us here tonight, but I wanted to bring the noisemaker stuff so that way if something went off, we'd know. But this whole time that we've been talking, we had 2 motion sensors running, and they've not gone off. We've had a REM pod that's not gone off, and then we have a K2 meter that we're going to be using here in a second. Before we start talking about our equipment, though, speaking of equipment, one of our pieces of equipment is starting to go off. And I just did a video so we can post that later. Our REM pod. I don't know if you can hear it chirping. But what a REM pod does, it emits its own field that if something comes within close contact, it bounces back to it and it picks it up and it makes it chirp. So we have that sitting in the front room, right where I'm going to have the children's section of the bookstore, and it's going off.
It's convenient right there.
So we've taken you live on a...
It sat there for an hour and nothing has happened.
Yeah. And I just saw something in the laser lights, but I think it was dust.
Yeah.
I'm
So that is one of the
100% positive it was dust.
That is one of the pieces that we use. Lynn just mentioned the laser light. We use a laser pin light that we can cause a grid to be projected up onto a wall, and the theory there is if something was to move in front of it, obviously it will block out the light and you'll be able to see a figure or a person or whatever it may be against that wall where the laser grid is. We also have 2 motion detectors set up with us here tonight. And they're very simple motion detectors. They're just battery powered. You can set them down on the floor, and if something goes past, they'll go off.
And it's right on it. I moved in to look at it and it went back off. So, sorry, go ahead. Motion detectors. You're in the middle of an investigation. Stuff happens.
We have, what else do we have that we use? We use FLIR.
Yeah.
For looking infrared, and then we use it connected to an iPad, so we are able to carry that around with us very easily and also record at the same time. It will detect in different colors, which we can use black and white, or we can use separate colors to detect heat and cold. We've had a lot of success using that. We have the listening device that basically gives you super hearing.
I call it a giant ear.
And it has a cone on it that where you can, it will then direct, or you can direct it, I should say, to a certain area, and you can hear things like, I don't know, probably 100 times better than you can with your ear. And we have been able to catch and hear things with that as well. It will pick up a lot of stuff.
It'll pick up a lot of stuff.
It'll pick up a lot of stuff as I just...
Okay, what I'm going to do in the middle of this while AJ's talking is I'm going to take the K2 meter and validate if something sets this off in the same spot that this is going off. Because then that would be 2 validations for something in the same spot. So keep talking.
And a K2 meter also, it picks up on electrical waves and magnetic, or it's electric, isn't it, Lynn? I'm sorry, it's electric. So if you go near an electrical outlet, it'll set it off. There will be different colored lights on it that show you if something is near it, or if you are near some sort of source that will set it off. A phone will usually set it off. If it's near an electrical outlet, it'll set it off. If you're near a refrigerator, an appliance, a microwave, sometimes they'll go off too. Spirit box. You want to talk about spirit box, Lynn?
Spirit box was something that, until recently, I never really believed in. But what a spirit, or I guess the SB7 is also called, what it does is it scans radio frequencies, and it's supposed to scan them forwards or backwards, depending on how you want to do it. But it does it really fast. You've heard us talk about the Estes method, and Haley's really good at the Estes method where she listens to it with headphones. But the theory behind it is that spirits on the other side can manipulate those sound waves and bring words across. Like I said, I used to. I didn't really believe it until I heard my brother's voice plain as day come out of it. So, and I wasn't the only one that heard it. We actually have it on recording, and other people have listened to it too, and they're like, that is 100% John's voice. Mm-hmm. So that's what that does, and we get sometimes full-on conversations. Haley will put the headphones on so that she can't hear us, and all she can hear is that radio scan, and we can ask questions as she answers them. So, well, she's not answering them. The spirits are answering them, and she is saying what she's hearing from the machine. So that's pretty amazing.
We also use video. We have video cameras that we use. We have ones that can detect infrared as well. Some of the other things that we have used in the past, or that just cameras. We are looking into getting a what do you call it? Full spectrum. Full spectrum camera. Now, when we get to some things like that, now we're talking things that cost a lot of money. The pin light that we talked about, that's cheap. K2 meters are cheap. You can buy things like that off of Amazon. Some of it is very specialized, and it's not really that you can get it just anywhere. We actually did have to go and reset our
REM
pod, that's the word I was looking for. REM pod. It was, we don't know what set it off initially, but it kind of got to the point where it was just going off the whole time. You probably heard that while we were talking. So we reset it just to see what's going on. Now it's quiet, so what initially made it go off, don't know. So
we did put the K2 meter there, and
beside
there's
nothing going on. So
I do know REM pods can sometimes go off if the battery's starting to get low, so that might be the problem here.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what you call a debunk.
That's what we call a debunk. That's right. Batteries. That's one thing Lynn just said. Bring lots of batteries. Make sure you have your chargers with you. Make sure you bring a power strip with you. If you really start to get into this and have lots of things that need to be plugged in or charged, you'll find out that, yes, that phenomenon of batteries being drained is for real. Your phone battery will go dead. Your flashlight battery will go dead. Your video recordings will go dead.
That seems to go dead quick, those
yep.
videos.
So make sure you have extra batteries, whether it be, batteries like AA, AAAs for flashlights, or have your chargers with you so you can plug them in. Your phone, your batteries for your video recordings. You will need that, and that's a simple thing to have with you too. What else? What else are we missing, Lynn? I feel like we're missing something. Or you got a question, Coop?
Yes. As a beginner going into this, as we're talking about Ghost Hunting 101, if you don't fully want to invest yourself into this, I don't know what the word, fully invest yourself into ghost hunting, but you want to test it out, what is some necessities that, I know you talked about your phone, your flashlight, but what's some other small stuff you can buy that are just, maybe you don't want to fully put yourself into this, but start small, yeah.
I'd say K2. You can buy K2 for what, like
$15.
yeah,
maybe?
off of Amazon, and it's a good tool because you can you can use it to communicate. You can use it to debunk.
What it does is it reads the electromagnetic fields around it, and we usually use it, and we're starting to make sure that we do it more so now, is when you first walk into an investigation, so you can get a scan of the place to see where electric might be coming from to interfere. What it does is it has a series of lights that goes from green to red. The more electric that's around it, it moves towards the red. But you can also ask questions if there's a spirit around and say, hey, if you're here, can you make the lights light up? And then they'll do that. So we have some of that video.
So $15, it's a good cheap
That's
thing.
Great. It can tell you a lot of information in one cheap little piece of
Temperature gauge. We have a laser temperature gauge. Those are cheap. You can buy those at most hardware stores.
Yeah.
Harbor Freight for $15. So you can find hot spots, cold spots. You can things like that.
I even have a Geiger counter.
Yeah, we have a Geiger counter. We have, it really depends on how much you want to jump into it, because obviously some of the audio and visual equipment can be very expensive. And you don't have to do that. If you probably, most people probably got an iPhone in their pocket and a flashlight at home. So.
Yep. And like I said, your cheapest piece of equipment is you. Pay
Your eyes
attention,
and your ears.
keep watching, listen, trust yourself. That's the big thing. Trust yourself. If you feel like you've been touched, you've probably been touched. Make sure something else didn't. My daughter pulled my hair once as a gag and scared me to death. I had that happen. So, but even your sense of smell and taste, these spirits can make you taste candy that they used to make or something. So pay attention to everything your body is telling you the whole time. So you never know what you get picked up on.
Smoke. We talked about that earlier. Perfume. I've smelled perfume before. Or cologne. Things like that. Fire. We've been in old places where you can kind of smell that fire from an old fire. So pay attention.
Flowers.
Yeah, flowers, yeah.
So that's the cheapest piece you can get. And then you could use some of this other stuff, like you think you see something in a certain place, put a piece of equipment there, and if it goes off, you might probably saw something.
Yeah. And, if you're in a group like ours, basically we have everything is everybody's in our groups. It's
all in one trunk.
We have a giant trunk that we lug around, but it's pretty full too. But once you start to gather some stuff, you learn what works best or what you like to use best as well.
Oh, and we also use cat balls.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds funny, I know. But the little cat toys that light up, and if the cat will bat them around, it makes the lights go off. You could set those around and ask that the spirits move them, and when they do, the lights will light up.
Yeah.
That's another one you got to make sure nothing on the floor moves. If you see something go off, then you've managed to walk across the floor, across the room, do it again to make sure that doesn't set it off again.
But those are very inexpensive too.
Or ask, say, hey, did you move that? Can you do it again?
Yep. So find you a good group to get into or go to an investigation, and then find a group that you fit in with well too. When you talk about the groups, you'll find that there's groups that you will fit in well, or you'll just feel like maybe that's not the group for me. We have a small tight-knit group, and we have a couple other groups that we like to investigate with because our styles are very similar. So, so I think that works out well too. So, and I think that's good too. Find a group that you can work with, just not in your group too, because you can learn from those other folks as well.
Right. And the most important thing, though, is have fun.
Exactly. Have fun.
Take it serious, but have fun.
We have a good time with our group, and there's like we were talking earlier, Coop, there's only 6 of us. We have a couple other groups that we like to hunt with. The Oldham County group that we talked about. POV that's in Ohio. We like to hunt with them too. Shout out to those guys. But you'll find that you can learn from each other. You can have fun with each other, and it becomes a community as well.
It becomes a family.
Mm-hmm.
I've really felt like they've adopted me right into the family right off the bat. So it's just a great bunch of people.
Like y'all said earlier, please don't go by yourself just in case something does happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are with your group, do you recommend, like, is it better to go with someone around, or kind of like stay closer to each other but kind of do you like own thing to try to catch something?
Well, my brother liked to go off and do what he called a solo, where he would go off, but he wouldn't be too far away. He would just be a couple of rooms down, so he could yell back if something happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we find that it seems like more things happen when the groups are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So we tend to kind of pair up, or 2 or 3 of us will go off in one place, but then we always do like a group thing too, where everybody's together, because sometimes that spurs things on too. But one of the main things though for not going by yourself is not necessarily because the spirit is going to do something to you, but if something were to happen, you were to fall down a flight of stairs, or run into something and cut your leg really bad because you're bouncing around in the dark. You don't want to be alone and try to get yourself out of an emergency situation. So just be smart. The flashlights are your best friend. Use them. Don't feel like you have to go around in the pitch dark. Sometimes you see things with the flashlight. So
Yep. And don't go off on your own either, because some of these places are very old, and you take the wrong step and you'll end up from the 2nd floor into the basement real quick. So
right. So just be smart. That's the keep your wits about you. Be smart and don't get overexcited if something happens, which is very hard not to do.
it is. It's very exciting, but we always do go back and try to debunk, which is. And sometimes the excitement is taken out of but sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not.
So as a beginner, what is a debunk process?
Well, what we would do is, number one, we would try to recreate what just happened. We're sitting here now and it's dark outside. So maybe you see a flash of light. Okay, we'll wait till the next car comes by. Do we see the same flash of light? Does it look the same? We caught something on the camera. We'll set the camera back up in the exact same spot. We'll see, okay, did we pick up a reflection from a mirror, a window? Was it a shadow because somebody else walked by the door and they didn't realize that camera was there? So we try to recreate exactly what it was that we caught before.
And do things like we did with the REM pod. If the REM pod's going off, set a different piece of equipment down. For us, that we figured out that the REM pod was going off probably because the batteries are getting low, because the K2 meter did absolutely nothing. So the more pieces of equipment that you can get to agree that something is amiss, then you've probably got something going on.
Yeah.
If it's just one thing, you might have something going on. So.
And make sure there's nobody else around. That's the simplest thing, because sometimes you'll hear something and you'll find out, the other group was directly above us in the room above us.
Yeah. So there's just just keep all your senses intact, and try to find any plausible explanation. And when you run out of those explanations, it's most likely paranormal.
Yep. And
keep your camera ready. Don't be like me, standing going, and I can't lift my arm to take a picture of the thing staring at me because I'm shocked.
It does happen.
It does happen. So.
To all of us.
Yeah.
So when you see something, I'm not gonna think this is a ghost, but even if you're like not in that debunk process yet, how do you take yourself from not being so excited that you scare away a ghost or a spirit, and trying to keep it around as like?
For me, it kind of happened naturally. and I think it's the same for you and Becca, because you both saw this the exact same time I did, and we just all three stood there staring at it. But it was like, Becca said she didn't want to look to, hers was different. She could see it out of the corner of her eye, but she said she didn't want to look at it directly because she's afraid it'd go away, because a lot of these things, you see them out of the corner of the eye and they'll go behind you, or they'll duck, because they always seem to like to try to stay behind you so you can't see them. Me, I was staring straight at it, and I just didn't move. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I think eventually I said, "Oh my God," and it went away. But it stared at us for a good long time, and I remember seeing, like, around the edge of it, seeing like it looked like it had little hairs, and it was just, I don't know what it was. I can't explain it.
But it's also, I think that a lot of people have this idea that you see it on TV like something's bad and it's going to come and get you.
That's not it.
No, and sometimes you just see it and you just freeze because you're just like,
did I see
my
that?
God, did I just see that?
Or it's real. That was what was going on in my head, is this is real. This is really real. And I couldn't move. And it wasn't like it was making me freeze or anything. I just didn't want to move because I was afraid I would lose it.
Yeah, it's not chasing you. It's not sliming you like in Ghostbusters.
No.
It's
It's coexisting with you.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that is, in reality, is what happens is a lot different than what we think is going to happen. We see in the movies.
So like, I'm someone who, unlike y'all, I'm a little scared of these things. But when you see these things, how do you, I said keep yourself from saying stuff, but how do you have to, like, keep it from, like, you said it goes behind you, but how do you keep it around you?
You don't keep it.
Mm-mm.
It chooses.
Yeah, it does what it's going to do. So you can ask it to stay around and talk to you, or try to communicate with you, or something, but most time it doesn't.
And you'll see
Sometimes
things,
it
you'll
will.
hear things, our last investigation, I heard a little girl's voice, and I was not the only one that heard it at that time. But I was just walking down this little hallway, and there it is.
And most of the time it's done and gone before you even comprehend what happened. So you don't have time to be scared anymore after that.
It's more like in that case, it's just like, I talked to the person who was with me. I said to him, I was like, "Did you hear that?" Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that AJ and I both, he'll say, "Did you hear that, or did you see that?" And then I'll say what I heard or what I saw, and he'll say, "Yeah, that's exactly." Or sometimes it's like, "No, that wasn't it, I heard this." But most of the time it's, we've seen or heard the exact same thing, so that gives you a little more credibility there too.
And that's true, that we don't tell I won't go, "Oh my God, did you hear that little girl?"
Yeah.
I'll just say, "Did you hear that?"
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about what we heard or what we saw.
And I'd say probably 98% of the time it's been the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So do spirits or ghosts do, like, when you're going to this place, obviously, I'm not saying y'all have a full knowledge of what's there, but y'all might have a little knowledge of what's there.
Yeah,
do
sometimes
they
they do. Mm-hmm.
do the ghosts ever leave that place, or do they like to stay in their spot for where they're at?
From what I've seen, it's both ways. Some are stuck, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's one shadow person at Post Town that stays in one little hallway, and you can almost guarantee every time you go and look, you'll see him.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I know some psychic friends that help move them on. That their processes are different, but it's like they can bring them the light of God or whatever and help them to move on so they can leave. And then some things are residual, which means there's no intelligence to them whatsoever. It's like a tape recorder that just keeps playing the same scene over and over again. So there's nothing you can do about that. That's going to be there.
You have the lady that's right down the street here that people see in all the different buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So
she moves around.
She moves around.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's like life. It depends on your circumstance. It's just interesting to. It's like the more I do this, the more I find something else that I didn't think was true, and then find out, yeah, it is.
And that's true. We keep finding out things and things that I don't believe, and then something happens, and I just tell Lynn, it just pisses me off because now I have to believe something else I didn't believe in. So
Yeah, just experience it for yourself. You can't, I've always believed, but when you actually have it happen, then you're like, okay, well, yeah, then that's true.
Yep.
That's part of the open mind. We've seen, yeah, obviously you might see that guy in the hallway just constantly knowing, hey, that's real. But you have to also go in there with open mind, like, hey, you might see something there, but it might have moved into there, so you gotta think you can't just stay in this one spot. As a beginner, you might think, I saw something here, so I might camp out in this little room instead of maybe going on and saying, hey, that thing might have moved rooms or there's something else in another room, instead of, as a beginner, sitting in that room and just camping out there.
And that's okay too, because it might still be there, or it may come back, or something else may show up. So, there's no really right or wrong. It's all a matter of luck.
It is a matter of luck, a whole lot of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a smaller building like this, yeah, I mean, you're better off being in your groups together, because there's not a whole lot. I mean, when we're going to be at Waverly or we're at Post Town at the school, I mean, it's huge, and we can split up and we can cover a lot of ground. So, but if you're in a place like that, there's a lot of luck involved. That's another thing we talked about too, is that we don't like to know a whole lot about where we're going, or the claims that are there. And some people like to know it, like you said, some people like to know all of it because they want to go to that hot spot.
Yeah.
And I think if you're just, to me, I don't like to do it, because I think you're just honing in on one place where you've got a giant building like a school that you can investigate the whole thing.
Right. It's like I've been chased by a shadow person twice. Well, not chased. He'd come up behind me and would move on 2 different places. So, in the same school, 2 different locations. So they move. So you just never know.
Yeah.
So is it, as I said earlier, I am asking this as a beginner, so all these questions to y'all who are listening who've never been, this one's for y'all. Is it more different if you interact with children? Like, will they be more interactive, or will the old people be more interactive in y'all's experience?
I don't think it's been either way.
No. But it also depends on the location, because sometimes you get a location where we know there were children, so we will try to interact specifically with the children. But then you go to other places where there wasn't children, so you're not going to really get that.
Because there was one time where I hear stories from y'all all the time, because I tend to I live with you and you're around.
Yeah.
So like, you told me a story that once when you were going to go to school, you were going to set up maybe set up little toys, because that's.
We did. We set up those balls. Lynn was talking about the cat balls, hoping that the kids would want to play with the toys.
And you can do teddy bears, and there's some teddy bears that have like REM pods in them. So if the child, would play with it, it will let you know. So.
Have you ever seen multiple what Booty Elf in school, seeing kids interact with each other and laughter or talk and heard that stuff?
We've heard laughter, but I don't know what that was about. We've heard music too, which is also interesting, and we've had a dog bark, which was also interesting.
We did have a dog bark. We've had the kid's voice that I heard at Post Town the last time I was there. We've heard distinctive male voices, distinctive female voices. We've had voices that come through on the I always forget the name. What's the new? I always want to say the voice box, but it's the
spirit box.
Spirit box. But so we've definitely had female versus male voices come through there. I don't think I wouldn't say that there's more one than the other.
Right. And as far as interactions, I've only had one incident where something was interactive, and I don't mean with us, I mean with another spirit. It was when we stayed at Post Town overnight. We investigated till 6:30 in the morning. We all decided we're going to try to get a little bit of sleep before we drive home. your dad goes and gets in his truck to sleep, and I go into the room with a handful of other people to sleep. Only I can't sleep because I'm watching a shadow person go back and forth across the room, and at the same time I'm hearing conversation, and I'm hearing running upstairs. In the conversation, they're clearly something's talking to someone else and it's talking back, but I can't hear what they're saying. You just, it's like hearing the people next door hear you. People are talking, but you can't understand the words. So, as far as them interacting with each other, that's the only experience I've had.
So, moving off those questions, like, obviously y'all aren't like master experts or stuff like this. Yeah. But do you know?
I am, but Lynn's not. I'm kidding. Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
Do you know when they pass away or something like that? Are they stuck in this like certain age in life for the rest of them, or like do you know if like they constantly like slowly get older, or they're just like stuck in this like age and like as you say maturity level that they're at for the rest of their life?
I've heard they're stuck, but then I've also heard that they present how they want to present. So
there's a lot of different theories.
Yeah, and as far as me having enough evidence to know, I don't. So I might, if I investigate the same place 20 years from now and see if I had, the same experience with something. But
I always liked John's theory on this, and because I asked him that question or something very similar to it, and his theory was that you went back to some time that was a happy place in your life, or traumatic. Yeah. So that's why I think about that. Sometimes maybe they do go back to a time being a kid, like in school, because that was a happy time in their life. So I don't know. I mean, but again, we're going to Waverly where all kinds of horrible things happen, and 2,000 some odd people died there. What I don't even know what it was.
A lot of people.
Thousands of people died there. So obviously there was horrible things going on there.
Well, if we're going back to happy places, looks like I'm going back to high school football.
Well, it's possible that that's where people go to.
Well, hopefully you have more happy places in your future.
Al Bundy.
Yeah.
I'm showing how old I am. Other questions, Coop?
I don't know. I gotta think about something right now because I'm just kind of going off my other questions. Let's think. When you have interactions with these things, do you usually have to start an interaction, or do they usually want to always start interactions?
Both. It can be either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like it when they start because, you haven't had to prod it along, and usually to kind of get you with a sense of surprise, but yeah,
it can be either way.
Both ways, yeah. It's like I wish something was here setting up the REM pod a little while ago. I wish it would come back and set it up again. But if you're trying to get that interaction, you're talking to them. Okay, you know how this works now. Can you come get close to it again? And sometimes it'll do it, and you'll say, okay, are you female? Light it up, and it'll light up, or it doesn't. And you're like, okay, are you male? Are you old? Are you you just have a whole series of questions.
Do lots of them like to interact with you, or are a lot of them scared of you?
Well, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because we seem like sometimes, yes, you will get interaction and you'll find out something, it's a male, he was a soldier or whatever. If you're in a place like, we've been places where we've investigated where there was Civil War stuff. Yeah. But we've also, you asked them, is there more than one of you? And sometimes we'll get the response, yes. But we're only talking to one person, and we know that we're talking to the one entity. So is it hard to say? I mean, we've been told that, we've actually, like we've had, how many of you are here? 6. But we only know we're only talking to one. So what does that mean? I don't know. Does that mean the other ones don't want to talk to us? Does that mean they're shy? Does that mean the one's in charge? I don't know. Does that mean only one's powerful enough to communicate with us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I will say, probably 95%, 99%, depending on where you are, of the time, nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And you just enjoy being with the people you're with. You can laugh and cut up or whatever, but most of the time, nothing happens.
There are some nights where just nothing goes on.
You know, as a beginner, that's something that you really, I'm glad you point out. You know, if you're gonna go and find your group and go for the first time and expect something, you know, can't always expect something. You gotta go in there, you know, open-minded. Maybe this wasn't the night, but I need to try this again.
Right,
You know?
because there's off nights.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did Octagon Hall twice, and one night that we went there, we had activity outside, but inside we had nothing, or next to nothing, all night long.
Mm-hmm.
We went back, and the next time we went back, the inside was absolutely crazy.
And nothing was outside.
And nothing was outside,
Mm-hmm.
so.
And
I've been to Waverly, and nothing has happened at Waverly. So, or next to nothing.
You know, and that's supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the United States.
Yeah.
So you can't tell. It's not like there's a switch that flips on and says, "Oh, okay, it's dark outside. Come on out and play." It doesn't
They're
work
there in
that
the
way.
day too. So.
Exactly. That's another thing that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
That's a topic I do want to hit sometime. But for one other thing I want to say though, real quick too, is about, you know, do you know or not know? I think that you'll find out that some people are more in tune to it than others. And Lynn and I are in especially our group are in tune. And sometimes you'll walk in and you'll just go, no, it ain't happening.
And it's so weird because, like, my brother and his friend Haley, they were really in tune with each other. They saw things, they thought the same things, they did a lot of the same things together that the rest of us didn't pick up on. But they were always, and your dad and I are like that with each other, which is really crazy. And I think we're both kind of at the same level.
But you and Missy are all three of us kind of sense the same things.
Yes.
And sometimes you can sense that, yes, there's something going on in a place. Or sometimes you can sense, because and we felt this before, it's just like, boom, like that. And it's like somebody flipped a switch and it's over. And we know the night's over and we're not going to get anything else.
It's like listening to, I say this all the time, it's like listening to the air conditioner run and you don't realize how loud it is until it turns off. That's exactly what it feels like when you're in a very haunted environment. You have that much energy, but you don't know you're feeling that energy until it stops and goes away. And it hits a song, we're all like, well, that's what we're like, yeah, it is, and we'll move on or call it a night or whatever. It's insane.
Are they known to, obviously they're not gonna, you know, punch me right now, but are they known to, like, maybe affect people, like, not, like, go, like, if you like, live in a house, are they known to, like, maybe mess with you a lot, or?
Depends. They can.
Yeah.
It
People
depends
become
on the spirit or the person.
People can become physically ill.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them want to play with you. They'll have fun with you. Some of them want to mess with you, be little tricksters.
Some of them are pervs.
Well, I mean, Lynn had one grab her leg. Some of them are angry. Some of them don't like you to tell them what they're known to be bad at or what they've been doing. Winchester, we had that one that, man, the POV guys made mad.
Yeah.
And it was that he was a bad guy, and we knew there was a bad guy that had been there.
But if you think about it, if there truly are people who have passed over, they're as varied as individuals as we are. You know, it's live individuals, and I don't think that goes away. You know, I don't think you go and you inherently become a demon. You know, Demon's a whole different thing. So, which thankfully we've never run across.
No, but I think it, just like in this, like I think like Lynn's saying, there's good people and there's bad people, and you know, just
good
because
ghosts and bad ghosts.
That's right.
You know, I tell my dad all the time, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm even scared of Michael Jackson, so that's so
Michael Jackson is scary.
Yeah, everybody's scared of Michael Jackson.
So,
no, I'm kidding.
You know,
Could be.
I don't even listen to him. I don't even listen to him at night because I might get some bad dreams at night. But how do you like make sure you know you're trying to get on the good side of the ghost? Like, is there a certain way?
Just be respectful.
We don't do that stuff that you see on TV where people go in and provoke and all that stuff. You know, we don't do that. We don't believe in that, and we'll never do that. I think that, you know, like I said, the POV guys made that entity mad in Winchester, but it wasn't like we were provoking it either. We were like, hey, were you the guy who did this and had done some bad stuff? And yes, it was that guy. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like it that we knew he was there.
What would that spirit have done what did that?
He was beating up women.
Oh, we do not know that, guys.
No. And he was actually killed in that building by one of the women he was trying to assault. So he did not like women, obviously. So that was, but we had able to deduce that that's who it was, and he wasn't very happy that we figured out who he was. But it wasn't like we provoked him.
What did he do when y'all figured out that?
He said some stuff that was not nice.
Yeah.
So that's part of the technology that y'all have. That.
Yes.
That's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really do stuff like that. And I mean, and it wasn't, again, we weren't really provoking him that night either. Mm-hmm. It was just that we found out who he was, and he didn't like it that we found out who he was.
Sorry, that's me. You have to say that when you're recording too, because you go back and listen, you're like, what was that?
But we also are respectful for people, because if somebody, you know, if like we're in this old house now, maybe this is that person's home, and literally they've been here 100 years as a spirit. You know, we're not here to bother their home.
No, we're here just to...
We come in and we ask them, hey, we just want to talk to you. We just want to communicate. And when we're done, we tell them thank you. And thank you for talking with us. Thank you for letting us come to your house. It's being respectful as well.
If there's a spirit, thank you for letting us come in here.
Very good.
Yep.
Learning.
Yep. So now you know all about it. You can do it now.
That's right.
I don't know. Good catch for a lot.
The hardest part for Cooper would be staying up late. He likes to go to bed early.
Oh, early. Early bird catch.
I know. I do too. I'm in bed like 8:30 or 9 every night. I'm surprised I can actually stay up.
Thank God for caffeine.
No, I can't have that. So I have my little handful of M&Ms. That's all the caffeine I let myself have.
Well, I think we're going to wrap up here just about now. Please send us your questions if you have any. We're still collecting questions, and we are going to hopefully do some more questions and answers. Oh, Cooper has another question.
It's not a question. Actually, as I just talked to them, I'm going to start posting on. We're going to start posting on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and maybe make a Twitter account. So if y'all listen to this, go follow the Weirdos in the Wild. We will start posting little snippets of podcasts and stuff before we post them. Just kind of give y'all a little heads up. Maybe get y'all excited for the new podcast so y'all will listen. Just go follow our socials. And if you want to ask us questions, DM, text us, whatever y'all want to do, and we will get your questions on there.
We need him on every episode.
We do.
He does a great job with this.
He is. So, yes, go to weirdosonthewild.com. Send us questions. We would love to answer them. If you've had an experience, let us hear about it. We would love to have people on just to talk about their experiences.
If you have a location you want us to check out, let us know that too. We might be able to come and either validate or help you decide that there's nothing there.
That's right. Or if you'd like to be one of our sponsors, don't forget that as well.
Yeah, keep us in business, folks.
That's right. We would love to expand this and be able to do more when it comes to the paranormal and all things weird. Stay tuned. We've got 2 episodes for sure coming up at some really haunted locations. We've got our new location here that we're going to be starting in and investigating. We also have another location literally next door that we're going to be investigating. So a lot to come on the ghost side, but that doesn't mean we're going to forget about all the other weird stuff.
No, and we do thank you all for your patience on getting another episode out due to some family emergencies we had going on. So.
That's right.
But we do have a lot of good stuff coming, and we will get it out there, I promise.
And support our sponsors.
Yes, we have Hydra Publications, which is actually local here in Goshen, so it's not too far from LaGrange, but he's in LaGrange all the time, Tony. And then we have Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services. It's just outside of LaGrange. And then I'm helping promote some stuff for the Louisville Literary Association that I am a board member of, as well as I'm going to start promoting some of my bookstore, even though AJ knows how much I don't like promoting my stuff, but I've got to.
Sorry, I tried to hold it off.
He's gonna make me tout my stuff. So there we go. I did my little plug.
That's right. All right, Lynn, take us home.
All right. Thanks again, and thanks Cooper for joining us tonight. And keep it weird, y'all.
Thank you for joining us at Weirdos in the Wild. Please show us some love and support on our Patreon account at Weirdos in the Wild. Like us on all of our social media. And if you've had an experience you'd like to share with us, visit our site at weirdosinthewild.com. Until next time, keep it weird, y'all.
Hydra Publications is your one stop for the best in genre fiction. Secrets and Blood is the debut horror novel from Dewey Hensley. Evangeline Grace, the sheriff in a small town, eastern Kentucky coal mining county, longs to start a new life in another place. However, present and past evils conspire to jeopardize her plans and end the lives of those she loves, including her brother Sheldon, whom she promised to protect. Drugs, feuds, and her beliefs stand in the way of identifying the notorious Highlander in time to live her dream. However, menace reaches from Madison County's past.
Do you struggle with depression, ongoing medical issues, or have you experienced past trauma? If you have, please consider the help of energetic healing. At Dragonfly Pond Holistic Services, we utilize Karuna Reiki, crystals to align and heal chakra function, meditation, and sound healing to address these issues and help you in your healing process. To learn more about energetic healing and how to contact us, visit our website at dragonflypondenergy.com. For those who call in to schedule an appointment, mention this ad and receive $25 off your initial visit. From the Ground Up Books and Resources is more than just a place to buy books. We are a center that nourishes the passions of writers, artists, and book lovers alike. Our programs help educate writers and artists. Our holistic items and Reiki services offer a unique opportunity to build individuals from the ground up. Sign up for one of our memberships today and support us and bring our vision to life. 5% of all memberships will go towards prize money for contests and scholarships for our programs. Book donations are always welcome. Visit FromTheGroundUpBooks.com for more information.
Attention all readers and writers. Louisville Literary Arts is back for the 11th Writers Block Festival on Saturday, September 30th, 2023 at the Logan Street Market in Louisville, Kentucky. The all-day event begins at 9:30 a.m. and will feature workshops, author readings, a resource fair, and keynote speaker, author and professor Emily Bingham from Louisville. Registration is $25 for general admission. Go to Eventbrite and enter the Writer's Block or the website www.louisvilleliteraryarts.org. For more information, you can also email info@louisvilleliteraryarts.org. Come find your right life at the Writer's Block Festival.